The 49ers had just completed their first preseason game against the Las Vegas Raiders. The final score was 34-7. To say it was a disappointment would be an understatement. But in this video, what we need to talk about is the quarterback battle between Trey Lance and Sam Darnold. Trey Lance received their entire first half, where Darnold only received half of the second half, and Brandon Allen came in for the final quarter. So let's get away with the numbers to start. Trey Lance on the day went 10 of 15, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. Sam Darnold went 5 of 8, 84 yards. Brandon Allen went 5 of 8, 36 yards, and 1 touchdown. But who actually was the best quarterback on the day? Because these stats don't tell the entire story. Let's go into each quarterback a little bit more deeply. As I mentioned, Trey Lance's stat line on the day was 10 of 15 with that touchdown. But it truly doesn't tell the entire story, because early in the day, Trey Lance looked like he was struggling to decide where to go with the football. This resulted in numerous sacks. And while the offensive line was getting dominated across the entire Raiders defensive line, it appeared that Trey Lance was sacked more than the other quarterbacks. I account for this because Trey Lance didn't get rid of the ball as quickly as Sam Darnold or Brandon Allen. Furthermore, in the day, Trey Lance had 2 dropped interceptions. One on that touchdown throw. Somehow the defender bobbled it, and Ross Dwelley came away with that touchdown. But on that drive, Trey Lance was looking nice. They were moving down the field. He just, I think, got a little over excitement maybe and tried to fit in there. He was going across his body. It was a really hard throw to make, and no surprise, the defender almost picked him off. Later in the game, Trey Lance tried to go over the middle, and the defender read it perfectly. He just wasn't able to come down with it. When I watch this game and I see Trey Lance in comparison to the Raiders rookie quarterback O'Connell, I'm more impressed by O'Connell. He gets the ball out more quickly, he's more decisive in his throws, and more accurate in the short game. He diced up the Niners defense over and over again, while Lance struggled to find where to go with the ball and nearly threw multiple interceptions. However, Trey Lance was able to finish the day relatively strong, leading the Niners down the field for a Jake Moody field goal attempt. Jake Moody did miss it though. So with Trey Lance's day out of the way, now let's jump into Sam Darnold. He went 5 of 8 and only played like a quarter, as I mentioned, but he had some of the better throws on the day. One of the ones that really stood out to me is when he hit Ronnie Bell on the right sideline. He hit Bell right in stride, and he looked pretty decisive throughout the day. He kept hitting all of his targets, and I was impressed with everything Sam Darnold was doing out there. He looked much better than Trey Lance, but this does need to be mentioned. He's going against third stringers. Trey Lance was probably going against people a little bit higher on the depth chart. So just take everything with a grain of salt. That being said though, Sam Darnold looked really good, and he didn't make any questionable decisions, which is something he's continued to struggle with throughout his career. So now let's move on to Brandon Allen. Allen did well on the day, I think, as well. He made pretty good throws, hitting Winstead on a deep out. He also nearly hit Ronnie Bell on that interception. It just went through Bell's hands. Bell was an up and down player. I mean, he had that drop, but he was probably the Niners' best weapon offensively throughout this game. I was pretty impressed by the young rookie, but more on him on a later video. This is about the Niners quarterbacks. So speaking about those Niners quarterbacks, let's break down how each one performed today and which ones I think performed the best. Starting out with Sam Darnold, I think he performed better than Trey Lance today. He threw that dime to Ronnie Bell, but also just was more accurate throughout his short passes and more decisive throughout the game. Now moving on to the second quarterback, I am going to put Trey Lance here. He had to avoid numerous pressures. He was going against a harder level of competition than Brandon Allen, and he did have that touchdown, even though it came on a dropped interception. He led a couple of nice drives in this game. Now moving into Brandon Allen, he was decisive. He hit Isaiah Winstead on the nice out, hit Ronnie Bell almost over the middle that turned into an interception. So his numbers kind of would have been better if all the wide receivers would have held on to the ball. But overall, he had a pretty good outing as well, but he wasn't going against the same level of competition as Trey Lance or even Sam Darnold. Overall today, the Niners quarterback room didn't perform up to the level they needed to, as the Raiders outscored them by a ton. So improvements definitely need to be had here, but this is the first preseason game. So with my thoughts out of the way, I do want to hear your thoughts on this disappointing Niners loss. It would also mean a ton to me if you liked and subscribed. And as always, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.